today, getting to know one more baby step that we can take to get there. Uh, we welcome the viewers from Fabi TV and from around the world who is watching us. And I would like to invite Anna to do the first reading and the initial prayer. Thank you so much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Our message today is from the book Happy Life by Divaldo Pereira Franco, by Joana de Angelis, the Spirit. Never do something wrong and let it go at that. Give yourself the right to make a mistake, but make yourself correct it. Bitterness, rage, and violence must give way to happiness, goodness, and peace. You reincarnated to grow and be happy. Abandon the highways of emotional bondage and scale the steps that will carry you to victory over yourself. Whoever does not tame his bad inclinations becomes the victim of the disorder they lead to. Now let's elevate our minds. Let's think of our Master Jesus and thank God, our Master, the Spirit mentors of this house, for this opportunity to be here today, to learn a little bit more about our teachings of our Master, to better ourselves a little bit more, ask for the blessings and all that we need to help us on this journey towards our inner transformation. Let's ask the good spirits to inspire our Sister Teresa today with the lecture and open our hearts and our minds to the teachings. We thank you, and so be it.
All right. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here again, and thank you all who decide to spend your Sunday here listening a little bit of what I have to bring to you today. So, as Sandra has said, the title today is Inner Transformation. And it's a title that for people who have been on Spiritism for a long time, we always hear about that inner transformation, need to change ourselves. But what it is really, this inner transformation, how do we do that inner transformation? So when I decided to do this lecture and about inner transformation, the first thing that came to my mind as soon as I got the title was like, know thyself. Right? Because that's what we always talking about in transformation. I need to know myself. So know thyself. So I know what's wrong, then I can fix it. So I decided to investigate a little bit about know thyself. And I have to confess that for the longest time, I thought that was something that Jesus had said. Right? I thought this phrase came from him. And I was absolutely wrong. Okay? So know thyself is an ancient Greek aphorism and is one of the Delphic maxims that was inscribed in the entrance of the Temple of Apollo in Delphi. It may have come from the Luxor in ancient Egypt. So this is actually from years before Jesus even came to earth, even Jesus incarnate on earth, right? Which shows that as human beings, for the longest time, we already have this concept that we need to know ourselves, what who really are, right? And this is way before even Socrates, Plato, and in fact, there is a belief that they think this is not even a Greek saying, that's maybe coming from the ancient Egypt, because they believe that the Greek philosophers, the pre-Socrates Greek philosophers were highly influenced by the Egyptian culture, and they think that that's how they brought that concept to the Greek culture. So we're talking about thousands of years before Jesus even came here, right? So So it's nothing new. Spiritism didn't bring this inner transformation, this concept of you have to know yourself. It's nothing new. As a human beings, we already have this instinct right from the beginning that this is very important. And in fact, Socrates used to say that people make themselves ridiculous, appear ridiculous, when they're trying to know obscure things before they know themselves. Just this morning, I had this big thought. I don't know why. I woke up and I had this big thought about trying to figure out the universe. So, because I start to think, and it's like, okay, I understand that the universe is expanding, but it's expanding into what? Because if the universe englobes everything, what's after it? And how about if the whole universe ends tomorrow? What's left? The vacuum? No, but vacuum is something. It's like completely useless. It's completely useless for me to try to figure out something that goes beyond my knowledge, right? It's the same thing for us trying to figure out what God is or how He is. He's a light. He is a energy. He is like, how does He work? How does He things? Because for me to try to figure out how God is or how He thinks is the same thing that you ask for an ant to try to figure out how an elephant leaps, right? It's like no clue. And a lot of times that's what we do. That's what Socrates is saying. See, a lot of times we stop trying to figure out the big things when we don't even know ourselves. We don't even know who we are. So you want to understand what's happening in the bigger picture? How about you first understand yourself? Because if you understand yourself first, maybe you can understand a little bit more of what's out there, right? And Plato also says, which was actually Socrates' student, says that understanding thyself, so by understanding ourselves, we would have a greater yielded factor to understand the nature of human being. So basically by understanding, what he's saying is that by understanding myself, which is pretty much matches what Socrates is saying, I may now understand the human beings. So when I look out there and I do not understanding why there's so much selfishness in the world today, why there's so much war, feelings of revenge, intolerance, vanity, jealousy. Well, I do not understand. Well, easy. What Plato says is like, look inside yourself. Maybe really, really look inside yourself. You're going to see that in the different degrees, I carry all of those things inside of me. Right? So maybe by understanding myself and understand that I carry those vices as well, maybe not bigger or smaller degree, now I can look at the human beings around me as a society and understand, oh, now I get why society is so selfish, society is so angry, society, because I'm actually carrying those things inside of me as well. Maybe in different situations, maybe what makes me angry doesn't even bother other people and vice versa, but we all have it, our things, right? And so, but I would never kill someone. I don't know, I haven't put in any situation that would bring that to really know if I wouldn't kill someone. If I had a kid and someone did something really bad to my kid, wouldn't I even at least think about it? I may not do it, but wouldn't I at least think about it? I would like to kill this person who did this to my kid. So clearly, I do have the desire inside me. I may not do it, but I carry the desire inside me, right? So that's what Plato is saying. Saying you want to understand how human beings are, like the nature of human being, understand yourself, because you are a human being. So probably your nature is exactly the same as everybody around you. And that really matches what Emmanuel says to us in the book that unfortunately has not been translated. It's Palavras de Vida Eterna, which would be probably words of the eternal life. And on chapter 31, calling Fighting the Shadows, Emmanuel talks about a passage from the Gospel, and it's a letter that Paul sent to the Romans. And what Paul says to the Romans is, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So this is actually quite interesting. And basically, and I have to remember the time when Paul wrote this, and it's not by coincidence that he sent this to the Romans. Because the Romans at the time were creating their empire, so they basically thought that they knew how the world should be and should be my way. So I'm going to go there and I'm going to impose to everybody, right? And that's how it was at the time. If I thought that my religion was better than yours, what I do, I'll get my army of people, just go over to your city, kill the ones who doesn't want to change, enforce my religion into them, because that's how it should be, or my way of living, and that's how we do it. So the world's not the way that I am, so what I do, I go there and I change the world, right? And then Paul sends this little message to the Romans and say, hey, if you think the world's not the way that you think it should be, change yourself. So he changed completely. So what he's saying here, and that's what Emmanuel is helping us to understand, and what Paul's saying is that if you look out there and the world's not the way you like to be, I look out there and, and I see wars like we have now in Syria, Aleppo, and so many bad things happening, and things, and even like with our next door neighbors. Let's talk about here close by. Like, the actions that some people that work with me that I don't like it. Some people are so selfish, or they're too proud and everything. So he says, do not conform to it, because it's very easy for us to say, oh, you know what, that's the way the world it is. What can I do? There's nothing I can do, so I'll go with the flow, because what can I, just one little grain in this sandbox can do in here? There's nothing I can do. I'm going to conform that that's the way the world it is, and beautiful. And he's saying, no, do not conform to it. If you think the things around are not right, if you see things that makes us feel bad, we should not conform to it. But how should we change that? He says, don't go out there and try to enforce, hey, you should be a better person. You should be less selfish. Hey, because I'm a Spiritist and the Spiritism say, and I think you should think like a Spiritist. No. He says, transform yourself. You don't like the way it is? Transform yourself. Change it. Renew your mind. And so, well, what's the point? If I renew my mind, the world's still the way it is. Well, but if I renew my mind, and Sandra renews her mind, and someone else renews her mind, and the little John renews her mind, and Mary out there renews her mind, all of a sudden, as a community, we live in a better world. Because the transformation is not outside in, it's inside out. We need to change. Especially because I cannot go out there and ask someone to be better when I'm not better myself. When I'm not doing anything to actually make things to be better, right? So let's not impose our transformations to people when we are not even ready to do our own. And that's what Paul brings in. You don't like what's out there? Don't accept it, but change yourself. So it completely changed that concept that we have, oh, I have to change the world. No, you have to change yourself, especially because if I try to change the world, I'm going to fail. So last week when Clay was talking about, making plans for 2017, he said, make it small one. If I make a plan to change the world, I'm going to fail, I'm going to give up, because it's not going to work. Halfway, it's like, it's too hard, not going to happen. But we can do small changes inside of ourselves, and that's way smaller goals, because we're in charge of what we do. So it's a way easier change to do it. And then we're always talking about, okay, I get the concept, got it. I need to know myself, I need to look inside myself, and I need to make this transformation, the inner transformation. I have been in Spiritism for many, many, many years, and I always hear this, inner transformation. Change yourself, know thyself. But how do we do that? Because that's when I was thinking about this lecture, I didn't want to just to come here and say, hey, you need to transform. We all here need to transform. I wanted to maybe create something that would help us. Because even for myself, like, okay, but how do I do it? I understand this concept. You look inside, you see something wrong, and then you change. But how exactly this happens? So anyways, I don't believe in coincidence, because as a Spiritist, I just don't believe in coincidence. So coincidence or not, a couple of months ago, I started reading this book, Memoirs of a Suicide, which I have to thank Paul and Maria Lúcia for giving me as a gift a year ago. It's a fabulous book, fantastic, okay? So I'm reading this book, and which is an amazing book. So just going to do a little side track here from my it's an amazing book. Yeah, it talks about suicides. It actually talks about the story of 4 suicide guys. And, but regardless that, the concepts and the ideas that brings in this book are so fantastic that in terms of laws of action and reaction and how the spiritual world works to help us, that it suits anybody, any of us, regardless if we're suicide or not, if we ever had committed suicide in any past life or not, it doesn't matter. It's a book that can help everyone because it is absolutely fantastic, okay? So I'm reading this book, and I'm on chapter 17, and a week after I decided to do this lecture, I go into chapter 18, and how it's called? Man, Know Thyself. I was like, wow, wow, I need this chapter because I have a month to prepare this lecture, and that's exactly what I need to talk, inner transformation. So I'm going to tell you the story of the book in a very, very small nutshell, okay, because I'm not telling the story, read it, and also because if I'm going to tell you the story, as you can see, it's very thick. I'll need 2 hours just to tell the story of the book. But basically, is the spirit that brings the story to us is Camilo Cândido Botelho. And Camilo tells his own story and 3 other men who committed suicide in 19th century. They were all 4 Portuguese men who committed suicide for different reasons. One because he was going blind, the other one because he was losing all his money, and different reasons. But bottom line, they all committed suicide pretty much because of pride, right? They could not accept what's happening to them. I don't deserve this. Easy way, I'm going to commit suicide. So the story starts the day that Camilo and these other 3 spirits are rescued from the Valley of the Suicide. And they in a very, very stage of mind, very, very confused, suffering a lot, and they are brought to a hospital. So basically, imagine some of the people who read or saw Nosso Lar, something very similar, like almost like a community with the different departments, but everything in there is actually made just to rescue and to work on spirits that have committed suicide. So it's a whole community just ready to help this kind of spirit. So the 4 of them are rescued, and they spend many years in the hospital because their perispirit and their minds are in such a stage of illness that they have to spend many years there just to recover their energies, just to center their ideas, just to understand why what they did was wrong and what happened, why they end up in the valley of suicide. So understand about the consequences of what they did. And they spend many years in there. And then after it got to the point where they didn't need the hospital anymore, they are taken to a different department, and they actually taken to know the different departments around. One of them is the Department of Reincarnation, and they are told about the process of reincarnation, why it should exist and everything, why it's important to reincarnate so we can expiate what they didn't before. And at this point, it's given to them 2 options. They have, and either option is fine, it's totally up to them to choose, is to either reincarnate and start out right away the process of expiation and trials and fixing everything that they did, or they could stay and study, literally go to university, okay? So 2 of them decide, I need to reincarnate right away. The guilt that I carry in my conscience is so big that until I don't go there and start to doing this this change, I won't be able to learn anything more. I need to start making this change right now. But two of them, which is Camilo and another one, decide to stay. They decided they want, and Camilo, especially Camilo, who was actually a writer, was fascinated for all this learning that he was having there and understanding how the connections between the incarnated and discarnated happen and everything. And in fact, he already, right from the time when he was in the hospital, he had this desire that if was given the opportunity, he would like to write a book, like to find a medium that would help him to write and bring all this teaching to the people who he thought it may help. So they go to they call University City, so it's a part of this big community, which is a university. And they subscribe for the course. And they meet their three mentors or instructors. Aníbal, sorry, the name is a little bit strange. So they have Aníbal, Epaminondas, and Surya Omar. So they are introduced to their mentors. And just for you guys to understand a little bit the level of those instructors, Aníbal was a guy, a spirit, that, remember the passage of the gospel and when the apostles are trying to keep the kids away, like children, and Jesus says, no, let the kids come into me. And then the kids actually come, and Jesus put a few of them in his lap and tapped them in the head. Well, Aníbal was one of those kids. Okay, so he actually lived with Jesus. He absorbed his knowledge right there, right from the source. Right? And the first class that they have, it's actually with Aníbal. So Aníbal's responsibility as an instructor is to teach the gospel, is to teach the divine laws. So they spend 2 years learning the divine laws, and they're having like a blasting time with this, because Aníbal wouldn't come like me here and put a PowerPoint in a computer, and then this computer is sending the desk to the screen, and you have this flat, boring screen telling you some few words. It's not like he used to do. So Aníbal would come to the class, and he would bring from his memory, because remember, he was there when it happens, right? So he would bring from his memory the passages with Jesus, and he would describe to them the teachings. And as he describes, his mind, with the magnetic fields, would actually put on the screen the movie. It's like I'm telling you, and then Jesus was walking, and then he went up the mountain, and it's showing Jesus walking, going up like this. So Camilo says that they felt that if they're there, right there with Jesus, in that moment, learning the divine laws straight from Jesus, was that sensation that they had. So I don't know about you guys, but by now, I wanted to go to that university. I don't know, I really wanna. So I already put on my wish list for when I disconnect, if possible. Like, can I go there? Imagine the level of learning the divine laws from there. So for 2 years, that's what they do. For 2 years, they learn the divine laws. Fantastic. Of course, by learning the divine laws, they already kind of look inside themselves and say, oh, what did I do, right? So a little of guilt conscious in there. And then 2 years into it, they finally time to start to have classes with Epaminondas. And Epaminondas, who's a loving instructor, had I would say the hardest task. And in fact, Camilo says that they all terrified of him. Terrified of Epaminondas. Like they would have panics of having class with him. And it's not because he was mean, bad, or anything. No, he was a loving instructor who would take care of them with loving and care and everything. But the Epaminondas class was literally, man, know thyself. So that's when I got to chapter 18. The problem is that the process here for know thyself was literally know thyself. So what they used to do with them, they would sit them in a chair, put a special equipment. Because of the level of evolution, they could not do what Aníbal could do, is just without an equipment, just put that imaging there. So they put an equipment on them. And that equipment, with the help of all the spiritual, evolved spirits in there, they would bring all the memories that were imprinted in their minds. Because we all do. Absolutely all of us here have in our minds imprinted every single moment that we live as a spirit. We just don't remember any of them, but it's there. It's imprinted. So what he does with that class, he starts to bring not just the past reincarnation. He starts to bring like incarnations from 1,000 years ago. In fact, Camilo is brought to an incarnation when he actually met Jesus, when Jesus was incarnated here. And I won't tell you how that interaction was because you're going to have to read the book. But he's brought it. He said, you know, you were actually incarnated when Jesus was on earth, and look what you did, right? So by bringing those memories, it brought so much pain to them, but so much pain and so much disturbance. Imagine if someone, you know, and I put myself in their shoes. If someone all of a sudden start to show a picture of what I was in previous incarnations and show that maybe I was a murderer, that I treated people like 10 times worse than I do now, how I would feel about myself, right? But at the same time, it tries to help them. For example, Camilo, you don't understand what you're going blind. Oh, look at here. You remember, like in the previous life, this is why. This process is so painful that they actually have a kind of a clinic, let's put it this way, that after class, they actually would pass some time in this clinic just to re-energizing themselves, getting magnetic passes to really rebalance themselves, because the process was extremely, extremely painful to do that process of looking inside themselves and in a real picture seeing exactly what they have done. And then they have Surya Amar, which is the other instructor that would actually help them to practice. So everything they had learned so far about the divine laws, he would go with them in places and help people. So good in practice. Okay, did you guys learn about the divine laws? Great. Now you know what you have to change. Okay, great. So now let's practice. So they would go with him on expeditions to here, amongst us. They would go to mediumistic groups to, you know, give comforting messages. They would even go back to the hospital. Remember when they got first rescued from the Valley of the Suicide, that they spent many years in a hospital? Well, every day has new spirits coming to that hospital. So they would go back in there many times to help those spirits, right? To talk with them, say, hey, I went through the same process, that's what it is. So really help. So put in practice everything that they were learning. So by reading this chapter, I said, oh, now I get it about this inner transformation, kind of, right? Or I get it at least a little bit more than what I understood. And then I realized that there is a process for inner transformation. Because then I tried to realize how was done with them. And I said, well, first, they spent 2 years studying about the divine laws, right? Before even like going to know thyself, looking who they were. And why was that important? If I ask anybody here and say, hey, what's your height? You're going to say, oh, I'm 5'6", I'm 5'10". So you know yourself, you know your height, right? And if I say, okay, compared to your household, are you tall, you short, or you average? Well, I know my height. I can look around, so I have something to compare. And I say, yeah, in my household, I'm tall, or I'm short, or I'm average, right? But if I ask you to compare your height with the average height on a little village in Switzerland, but I don't tell what's their average height, and I say, hey, are you tall, short, or average? You say, well, I don't know. I have nothing to compare. But if I say, well, their height, their average is 5'8", I say, oh, now I know. Now I can compare, and now I know that I'm tall, I'm short, I'm average, right? So that's why they start with divine laws. They spend 2 years learning the divine laws. They spend 2 years with the Nibble, learning the base. Because otherwise, if I don't have the base and I don't know what's right, I may not do the know thyself. I may look inside of me and say, yeah, I'm a very proud person, and I like it. In fact, I think it's good that I'm proud, because it's my pride that took me where I am today. And I think it is a good thing to be proud. Or I may look inside and say, yeah, I'm quite selfish, but you know what? I don't see anything wrong with that, because if I wasn't selfish, I wouldn't be where I am. You know? If I had wasted my time helping others, I would have had no time to help myself, and I wouldn't be where I am. So I may look inside and say, yeah, I see a bunch of stuff, and I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't have any base to compare. I don't know what's right. I don't know what's wrong. Right? So that's why it's important to have the divine laws first. That's why they spent 2 years learning the divine laws. So when they go to the process with the Paminondas to look inside themselves, they have something to compare. And that's why it was so painful. Because now they had the base. Now they understood a little bit better what Jesus came to teach. And then when they looked inside themselves, they said, wow, I'm really far away from acting the way that Jesus would like me to act, or the way that he taught us that the divine laws would expect us to act. But now I have something to compare. I have something to look inside myself and say, get it. Now I understand what I have to change and why I have to change, right? Because you have to understand the whys as well. Okay? So once we have something to look at, so once we understand a little bit more the divine laws, and I say a little bit more because we're not going to understand everything in the divine laws, not even in the next 10 reincarnations, but I think more and more each time we learn a little bit more, we have a better base to know thyself. And then we go to know thyself. So that's when they now go to have their classes with the Paminondas. And what it is this know thyself? It's literally to look inside. Because, like, okay, but how do I look inside? Do I ask my family doctor for an MRI, a CT scan? What do I do, right? No, it's not going to help. So it's literally to watch our thoughts, our actions. That's what it is, know thyself. How do I react when someone offends me? How do I react when someone at work doesn't do something the way that I would like to be done? How do I react when I lose a loved one? How do I react with all the negativity that's around us? And react not in terms of action, but react in terms of thoughts, because thoughts are important as well, right? Because, yeah, maybe I don't do it, but I really think it. Yeah, maybe I don't really choke you, but I really think and I imagine myself choking you, right? So, and we know that our thoughts can really create the energy, right? So that's what know thyself is, right? And then action. Because if I don't act, I'm really not changing. I'm just being aware. So if I stop this process right here, okay, divine laws, know thyself, but I don't act, then I'm just bringing awareness. Yeah, I know what's the right, I know what's wrong, but I'm not correcting, right? So for us to have inner transformation, you have to have all those 3 elements to be an inner transformation. Because if I stop in here, and that's why I put the arrows like back and forth, because also it's not linear. Okay, now I'm learning the divine laws. Now I do know thyself, and now I act. No, it's constant. We constantly learning the divine laws a little bit more, and then constantly looking inside ourselves, and I'm acting a little bit better, or maybe this time I couldn't, and then I'll go back to and it's a constant exchange that's happening, right? All 3 elements have to happen together. And let's say if I only know the divine laws, but I don't do the other 2, there's no inner transformation, because I'm going to be just as the person that memorize everything, and I'm going to be very honest, I'm jealous of people who can actually memorize the gospel. They can even tell us, oh, in Matthew 16, verse 5, it says this and this. On Luke 3, I'm jealous because I cannot even remember it for breakfast. And you can actually memorize the gospel. I think it's fantastic. I would love to be able to cite, like to see, it's in there. And I can't, right? Some people can. But if I'm only aware of the divine laws, yeah, I'm going to be the person who comes and I can recite and I can say a bunch of stuff. I can be here exactly where I am and do a lecture and say, oh, this is what is expected and everything. And there's no inner transformation. Yeah, I just know what's the right it is, but there's no inner transformation. But now if I know the divine laws, and I use that to know myself, to really look inside me and saying, what I'm doing that doesn't match the divine laws. It's like, oh yeah, now I realize I'm proud, I realize I'm jealous, lots of vanity, I'm greedy, yeah, but you know what, that's who I am. I'm not gonna change it, right? And I think people should accept me the way I am, and that's it, that's who I am. And as a spiritist, we like to say, oh, I know next reincarnation I'll change. Right? Because we know that there's a next one, so it doesn't need to be done now. The thing about inner transformation is too hard. Like, it's really, really too hard. So, you know what? Yeah, I know what's wrong. So there's no inner transformation there. Again, I'm just brought in awareness. I'm aware now. I'm aware what's the right. I'm aware what's wrong. But I'm not changing my actions. So there's no inner transformation. So inner transformation really only happens when you have all three elements. When I'm aware what the divine laws are, when now I start to look into myself and look at how do I really react, what kind of thoughts I carry all the time, what kind of actions I have, and then start to make small changes to it. Action. Maybe I'm going to change my thoughts. Maybe I'm going to change just the way I act. And maybe, you know what, when I look inside myself, I notice that, you know what, I'm very tolerant in these conditions, but if you put them on this condition, all of a sudden I'm not tolerant anymore. So then when I realize, you know what, in this condition, I'm good, I'm okay. Maybe I'm going to start to change these other conditions. How can I be more tolerant, even if it's a tiny bit, on those conditions that usually makes me very intolerant? And that's what it's about. You know, oh, every time someone offends me, I just feel like offending back or yelling at them. Well, then as Devout Frank likes to say, if someone offends you, it's their problem. If you get offended, then it's your problem, right? So why do I get there? Why did I get so offended? And then we have to analyze ourselves. Why did I get so offended? Oh, you know what? It's because I'm very proud. And it's my pride that makes me. So maybe I should be a little less proud, or maybe I should let it go, learn to let it go. Maybe I should learn to forgiveness, right? I cannot forgive anything. Oh, maybe I have to start. And maybe I'm going to start with the easier conditions to forgive. I'm not going to forgive everything, but little things. It's like Marco said last week, little things. If I create big projects, big goals, I'm most likely to get frustrated and not get there. But I can make little things. You know, maybe before 10 out of 10 situations I would have just yelled. Now only 9 out of 10 I'm yelling because they're the one that I was able to look inside and say, no, that's not the right way of reacting. I'm going to change. And that's what it is. It's little by little that we do. In fact, Sandra this week put up a picture on the internet. It's really funny. It's this guy with like really skirting eyes looking at this little piece of paper, and the phrase says that he's trying to see how much he evolved in this incarnation. Right? So it's like this, trying to see it. And honestly, if by the end of an incarnation, everything that we can see, it's a little molecule of improvement, we should be proud of ourselves. Because there is no such a thing as a big inner transformation in one lifetime. There's none. None. Nobody here is going to become pure spirit in one incarnation, 2, 3, 4. You know, it takes time. And actually, that's everything that Jesus asked of us. He didn't just ask for any big transformation. He just asked, change yourself a little bit. Be a little bit more aware. Yeah? Be a little bit more aware of who you are and change little by little. Right? Chico Xavier once said that we should not worry about being better than other people, but we should just worry about being a better version of ourselves, a better version. So, you know, it's like upgrades in the computer. You know, or iOS 1.5, the next one's 1.56, and that's 1.57. It's a little bit. There's still lots to work in the program, like, you know, and that's why. And then it comes to 0.8, and it gets better slowly. So that's what it is. By the time we finish, if we do a little bit of inner transformation, we came as a version 1.5, and hopefully we're going to leave as a 1.6. And that's great. That's fantastic. That's everything that's asked ourselves to do it. And in fact, in the book of Potato, chapter 2 is called Na Carne, which in English would be as incarnated, while incarnated. Emmanuel talks about, because then you can say, okay, yeah, great. But in the book, Memoirs of Suicide, he had this mentor and he had this machine that he could really go inside and see all those things and everything. I don't have any of this equipment here, so how can I know myself? How can I know what I have inside of me that has to be changed? And, you know, and it's good that we cannot go that deep. Because remember, he went that deep. We had a highly trained mentor. And on top of the mentor, he had other spirits that would just stay around giving energetic protection to the process, right? We don't have here, it was incarnated. We don't have the equipment. We don't have anything like that. So what Emmanuel says on that thing is that every time we reincarnate, we're giving the bless of forgetting everything we did in the past. And actually, as a spiritist, sometimes they say, oh, every time we reincarnate, we start from zero. And that's actually not true. Every time we reincarnate, we do not start from zero. Because if we start from zero, literally zero, means I remember nothing from before. I bring nothing from before. Then if you get a family where the parents have 3 kids, they would raise these 3 kids, and the 3 kids would be exactly the same. No change. They start from zero, they bring nothing from before, they should act exactly the same. For the people who have kids, I don't, notice that it's not happening. One's quieter, the ones are more agitated, one likes to play with a certain type of toys, the other likes to bring with certain toys. So we actually do not start from zero. We all bring with us, what we forget is who we were. What I was my father, was my mother. I don't know if I was an engineer or I don't know what I was. I don't know what kind of a job I did, if I was a housewife, I don't know. But what we bring with us is our personality. So all those vices and qualities that we had from before, they do come with us. And they come more as a way of intuition and personality. That's why we all have different personalities, because we do bring it. So if I was someone extremely selfish and proud in previous lives, I'll bring that with me. That will be a characteristic of my personality. So we do not need to do any big, deep looking inside like they did with the Camilo, because we wouldn't even be prepared to do that. But let's just look at the little things that are in there that do come with us, and it's part of our personality, who we are. And those things we can look at. So that's what Emmanuel tells us in that, just to look at the little things that we have inside of us. That's part of our personality. That we can, and I'm going to tell you, even that it's hard and painful. Even that it's hard and painful, because I consciously start to do this know thyself in the last few years, and it is extremely painful. Because then, in my case, I noticed that I'm way more proud than I thought I was, perfectionist, and when I'm not perfect, a lot of things. There's so many things, jealousy, so many things that has to be changed. But we need to accept who we are and say, hey, yeah, I'm a jealous person. I can change that, but I can change that. Slowly I can change that. Yeah, I'm a proud person. It's almost like the AA concept. Until you don't accept that you have a problem, you're not going to try to change it, because you just don't have a problem, right? So until we don't really honestly look inside of us and start slowly, if I can find one characteristic that I can notice, like, oh, hey, I notice I'm proud. Well, I'm going to work on that one. I don't need to look at all of them and work on all of them at once. Small things. But we need to be honest ourselves and look at that, because the signs are there. They're there in our personality, in the way that we think, in the way that we talk, the way that we react to the actions that come towards us. It tells us exactly who we are and what we need to be changing. Okay? So small things. Doesn't need to be anything big. And just to want to leave a message from Andrea Luiz from the book Sinal Verde or Green Light. And it say, study yourself, noting that self-knowledge brings humility, and without humility it's impossible to be happy. And that's true, because when we look inside ourselves honestly and we start to really look at our actions and thoughts, there is no way that we don't become a little bit more humble, because then I start to see, wow, everything that I pointed out on the others, I actually carry them all inside of me. And then I bring myself out of the pedestal that I put myself to a lower understanding that I'm just like anyone else, that there's lots to learn, lots to change, lots to work on, right? And without that humility, it would be impossible to be happy, because we will not make changes and would be still living in this world with so much unhappiness. And remember, if you're not happy with the world, change yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Teresa. That was very uplifting for me. And I imagine for a lot of people that are here today. It is the small changes that really does the job, you know. It really takes us to the next level. If we do not do it, we're going to be procrastinating and just, you know, being in one place without moving. So we'd like to open now for questions, comments, or anything you want to ask Teresa.
Any comments?
Nothing? Oh, there you go.
I never knew before you spoke today that you cannot know yourself without first knowing the divine mind. When you pointed it out, it becomes so clear. You hear many people, they will, you know, maybe abuse their body to say it's my body, but when you know the divine laws, it's a different discussion. I never saw this clearly.
Actually, I never saw this theory, and like I said, I don't believe in coincidence until I read this book. Because then I realized, why did they spend the first 2 years learning the divine laws, and then they went to know thyself? And that's what it is. You have to have a base to compare, right? Where can we get the book? Here.
Sorry. Yeah, we have it
Here, we have
for
here.
sale.
Actually, I think I have like 3 or 4 copies right now. Yeah. It's fantastic. Absolutely amazing. He answered me some questions that are not even related to suicide, but about laws of action and reaction that I had for the longest time. He answered in the book. I was like, oh, now I get it. So that's why I said, even if the subject of suicide is something that doesn't interest you, but the concepts that brings, it goes beyond that. It's absolutely amazing book. Yeah.
I wanted to make a comment about the action. How the action is so important. Without us acting on any change that we decide to consciously make it, we never know, first, that we'll be able to accomplish. Second, if there is any adjustment that needs to be done, because once we try something new, we can say to ourselves, oh my God, I still can do it. Maybe I can do in this manner. Okay, so if I can change in this manner, if I can change with someone from my, for example, from somebody from my family, that sometimes it's easier for us to, you know, to do a little bit of, you know, changing in the family. Maybe I can change with somebody, a co-worker, and finally I'll change with a stranger, a total stranger. Or you can go the other way around. You can change with a stranger, and then you can change with a coworker, and finally you can change with a family member. So it's really these little adjustments that we can find that I'm still not there. Maybe I can change in different, you know, different areas of our lives until we find that I'm acting and I'm okay with this action, and then we can move on and change something else and transform something else. I like to use the word not even transformation. I love to use the word reconnecting, because we all have the most beautiful, perfect being in us. It's just that with the incarnations and with our not knowing who we are, we start putting all these levels and layers of things that we end up transforming ourselves. But getting back to our pure being of love, this is reconnecting with our true selves. So thank you so much for coming here today. Now we are going to invite the kids for our passes. If you can stay in this state of, harmony and peace, that will be great. Okay?